Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back today for your HTML5 bootcamp. And I am Sarthak Batra, as I was yesterday. How's it going? How's everyone? Did you all do the little activity I asked you guys to do? Did you all do that? You should have. And this is what I have to say. You really should be doing a lot of these activities by yourself because that's the only thing. Trust me, that's the only thing that's going to make you better, better developer. That's going to make you understand better. And only when you do those questions is when you'll have questions for me so that I can solve them. Okay. Right. That being said, let's do a quick recap of what we did yesterday. Shall we? Let's. Okay, I've opened up my terminal and let's do a quick recap of what we did. Sorry. Let's do a quick recap of what we did yesterday. So, yesterday we spoke about HTML, where it came from, its evolution, and we talked about some common jargons about how, so on and so forth, right? And then we went on and made our first web page. We wrote this code that you see on the screen right now. And yeah, essentially we made our own web page, which you will see. I'll open that web page. Should be somewhere here. Hold on. Let me open that web page. Okay. Do we have it now? We do. Right, so this is the web page that we made yesterday. We spoke a lot about semantic elements. Today, we're going to expand more on that understanding. But again, let's stick with what we did yesterday. We spoke about the structure of HTML, the very basic. It needs an HTML tag, opening and closing one that contains all the elements of the HTML. We need a head tag to include the metadata. We'll talk about more about metadata today. And then we need the body tag. Those are the bare minimum of tags that we need. Now body tag, as the name implies, can have many more tags inside it. In fact, it does. That's what the web page is. That's what makes a web page, right? So we spoke about the heading tags, which is H1 through H6, gives it different levels of boldness and significance on the web page. And I'm gonna get rid of the regular text right now. We also talked about the paragraph tag. It contains some text inside a paragraph block. And then we spoke about the anchor tag. It is used to link one part of the page to another anywhere on the internet. We spoke about the image tag, and again after that we spoke about the ordered list, the unordered lists, and then we went a little more we started talking about the semantic tags like footer, article, section, div. For today's, the agenda for today is we'll expand more on our understanding of these tags, and we'll include some interactivity into this web page. When I mean interactivities, yesterday's app was something that you could only read. There was no way for me as a user to send some data to the to the person who's made this website. Let's say this website was on the internet. There was no way for me to have any sort of interactivity with the person who's made this website. We're going to change that today. Okay. So, and also we're going to talk more about semantic tags, why we use them. They came, we have to talk about accessibility over the internet and SEO, which is search engine optimization. This is where semantic tags really shine, and search engines like Google, like Bing, really love semantic tags. And the more you have the semantic tags, the better your SEO score is, and there's a higher chance for your website to rank above in results. Okay, right. With that out of the way, you're already on my screen. You are on my screen. That is awesome. So I've opened this project in VS Code using my terminal. This is what I did. I went to the directory and I typed code dot, pressed enter, and it opened up the terminal for me. Just like this. This is where it was, right? So let's begin today's class. Today, the very first thing we have to talk about interactivity, and we do that by talking about forms. Now, what are forms? Well, hi guys, I see more people coming in. You know what, let's give this a very short break here. I want more people to come in. All we have done till now is we have revised whatever we did yesterday, and we've set an agenda for what we're going to do today. Hi everyone, I can see you guys on the screen, on my main screen there. Oh sorry, main screen is this, on my the screen that I have you guys on. It's there, and that is also where I have my notes. So yeah, hi everyone, please make your presence known, say something in the chat, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, so did you guys really practice what we spoke about yesterday? Because that's one of the most important things that you guys can do. Oh yeah, I'm looking here. One of the most important things that you guys can do, you guys must really practice. Only then you can have questions for me. And if and when you have questions, put them on the chat. I will read them. I will answer them. Okay? Okay, great. So do we begin now? Or do we give it 30 more seconds? I think we should give it 30 more seconds. I will have my water. And when we start with forms. Okay? And I'd like one of you, in the meantime, to read about forms. It's a very simple element. It's essentially, let me not jump the gun right now. Let's just wait. Yeah, let's do a countdown. Okay, after this countdown we begin. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I think we should begin now. I think we have waited enough. I have revised with you guys. I think it's about time we should begin without wasting any more time. Yeah, so we were talking about forms, and I'd like one of you to go on and describe forms to me. I'll tell you my understanding first, then I'll take you to MDN, because that is the source of truth for all things web. So my understanding of form is simply just a wrapper element wherein it has sub elements or nested elements which allow you to take user input, right? So form is essentially a logical wrapper element around it. And let me show you what does MDN say about it. If I simply write form with MDN, this will open. Let me make this larger. Can you all see? Can you all read? If you cannot, please let me know. Because I think I saw someone write that the screen's too small. Right. So yeah, the form element represents a document section containing interactive controls for submitting information, as I said, in simpler words, right? So let's do this right now. Let's make a form, because the best way to do this is by practicing it. So let's do this right now. Let me just write down a form, and that's it. Okay, let me make it bigger. And yeah, that's a form. Well, on its own, it doesn't do anything. You'll not see anything here. Form needs to have child elements. So let's make those child elements. And don't worry about what these child elements are right now. Let me just quickly put them there so that we can talk about, let's just first understand what forms do. And we can talk about these child elements then. Okay, one sec. Right, so as you can see, I've made a form. We'll worry about the child elements later, but let me show you how this looks on the UI. This is the form. First name, last name with a submit button that I've made here. Input type submit. And let's call this submit button. Right, so this is the submit button, and that's simply what a form is. It allows you to take user input. So now it's asking me for my first name. I'll put my first name. I'll take one name from the chat. How about you, Akshay? And I'm just making up a last name, which is Kumar, because Akshay Kumar sounds good, right? So Akshay Kumar, it simply takes that input, and you can press the submit button to send that input, to do something with that input, to send that input somewhere, or to somehow process this form. Don't worry, we'll talk in depth about these elements and everything in just a while. Right now, we are just focusing on the form, and this part of the UI, this represents a form, and it's as simple as that. Let me show this to you on the inspector. So if I go here, this part is the form. That's all there is to it. It's just a wrapper around interactive elements, as MDN says too, right? But so we can wrap these label and input elements inside form. We'll just talk about in a little while. But forms are also used to, since they are the wrapper elements around user input, they are also used to send those user inputs somewhere, either to our own website or to some website outside, right? So let me do this, and they do that by using the method and action attribute. So and the attribute goes in the form element, form tag. Let me do this here. Method, right? And let me put a simple get method and action. And for action, hold on. So action is where you send the form, right? So now whenever you press this input, this button, this submit button, it will send this form here. I've not written it right now, I just will, but it will send the form here with the HTTP verb of get. Now let me quickly tell you about the HTTP verbs. I'll be very brief about it. That's not necessarily the agenda, but you should have a cursory knowledge about what HTTP verbs are. Essentially, HTTP verbs are telling the server what you want to do with the data that you're sending. So there are predominantly four types of, there are many, but there are predominantly 4 types of verbs that 99% of, so if you know these 4 types of verbs, you won't need to learn any more else. There are more, but you won't need to learn them. So there's one called get, as I've used here. There's one called post. Then there's one called put, and there's one called delete. Okay. And as the name implies, they do something very similar. These are called HTTP verbs. So get, it's used to get some information. So if I want to have a list of all the active cricketers which are playing for India, there has to be an API wherein I can send a get request and just simply get all that data. Or for example, there's a very popular website called Poke API for Pokemon. Poke API. I use this a lot when I'm teaching people. It's an amazing website. So this is where I use the get request. Essentially, I submit it with a get request. This is right now it's fetching data only for Ditto, the Pokemon called Ditto. Let's say I want it for Charmander. Let me make sure I'm spelling it right. So it's Charmander. Let me make it bigger. And it's pokeapi.co, by the way, if anyone wants to play with this on their own. POKE API.co. and you just have to put the name Charmander. You submit, and you get everything associated to Charmander. So it uses a solar power. The cries are these, and the URL. This is everything, all the data related to Charmander. Let me see if we have the sprites somewhere, or yeah, these are the sprites. Sprite simply means the 3D visualization, or 2D visualization for that matter. So if I copy this, let me copy this. Let me paste this here. This is Charmander. This is one of the sprites available. If you want to see more, there are more. This is the shiny sprite for the shiny version. If I put this here, do this, you get Charmander but shiny. For those who follow Pokemon, they'll understand. Let me know in the chat. Do you guys follow Pokemon? I do. I'm a huge fan, huge fan. And this is the master. This is the front default frame, the master frame for the front default. So this is, I'm sure you guys will recognize this sprite. This is what you usually see in promotional materials and so on and so forth. So essentially what get does, coming back to the point, what get does is it just gets data about some, some resource that you want for. So if I don't want it for Pokemon, not just a single Pokemon, but all of them, I think I can get it by this. I can just get rid of Charmander, submit it, and yeah, so count 1302. Now I've got data for 1302 Pokemon. And it's a huge result here. It's all the Pokemon, 1302 Pokemon that we have. It's Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, so on and so forth, and what have you. So I really, insist that you go play with this API, but essentially that's what GET request does. Coming to post, what does post do? Post is used to post some data or to send some data over to the API. So for example, when you're sending this form, you would typically use a post request. In fact, let me make this a post request and let it be GET. I want to show you that let's not go very deep into the HTTP verbs right now. Let's just understand what they mean. I will show you the implementation right now, but don't worry about it. Right. So post is used to post some data. I'll write this down here. Let me write this down as a quick reminder. GET is used to get the data. Post is used to post some data. Put is used to update data. And delete. What do you think? What do you guys think delete is going to do? If your answer is going to delete some data, you get a cookie. Used to delete some data. And that's all the 4 verbs that there are. Right? So right now I'm sending a GET request to some server. The server can be my own server right now, like somewhere along in this program only, or I can run or I can send it to some other server somewhere, hosted somewhere else on the internet. For right now, I think I'm gonna send it to, I was working on some other project, and I think I'm gonna send it to this server that I had made while I was working for some other project. Don't worry about the implementation of the server. It's nothing more than, for now, it's nothing more than just a simple, a visualization tool for you. Very soon you'll learn to make your own servers, but right now that's not the concern. Don't worry about it. So where does the server run? I don't even remember. Let me just quickly run this project. And running on 4500. Okay. So if I send this to http:// localhost : 4500. That's where my server is running. If I do this now and save it, now when I click on submit, it will send all of this data with the get as a get request to this address. This is where my server is hosted. So let me refresh this. Let's call this Akshay 1 because it's the first time we are doing this. And I'm gonna press the submit button. It's gonna take me to my simply take me to my my page, my server that I've hosted. So if I do this, it is taking me here. My server simply returns. Does it return? Yeah, it simply returns a status message of OK. Simple as that. So that's what my server is behaving as expected. And there's nothing more to do on the server, but we can log this request. What I mean by logging is we can show this request. I'll wait. I see some action happening on the chat. Guys, any questions, please? Let me scroll up. Let me see a few questions if I find something interesting. Yeah, so HTTP verbs, HTTP verbs are simply just telling the server how to process some data. That's all there is to it. I mean, these are just identifiers to just let the HTTP verbs are simply identifiers to let the server know how to process the data incoming or outgoing. Right? There's nothing any more extravagant to it, and that's all there is to it. That's all that you need to understand for now. Okay. Okay, and I know these are fancy transformations that I've put on my stream. I'm very proud of it. Okay, so I want to be able to see this data. I'll write a dirty piece of code here. By dirty, I don't mean that it's actually muddy. By dirty, I mean doesn't belong here and not following the standards that I've set for myself. But anyway, so if I do a log here and write down let's upgrade HTML5 class. This is what you've sent. What is it that you've sent? You've sent in the get request, right? It will send query. Yeah. It will send the query. It will capture it as a query. Actually, I'll show you the entire request that we are sending from the front end, and then I'll show you how it comes from the query. Okay. And that's it. This is where it ends. Let me mark the end as well. This is where the record ends. And don't worry about not being able to connect to the database. It has no bearing on the results that we're going to see. It's simply the status message that I've put for myself, so that I know when I'm able to when I'm connected to the database or not. So it should be somewhere outside and the config.db. Yeah, so don't worry about it. I've simply put it. This is where it's coming from. Okay. Anywho, so now if I go back to my page, let's go back and let's refresh. Let's go here. Let's type AKSHAY and let's write PWO here. And now when I press the submit button, or instead of pressing the submit button, I can simply press the enter key, the return key, which I do right now. If I do now, it sends me the same thing. It sends message OK. But interestingly, it sent me the entire request here, and Akshay 2 will be in an object called query. So let me find it. Should be, here it is. Like I said, it's in an object called query. So I can target this this exact object by simply doing dot query, right? So when I do this, I can now, if I go back here, go back, refresh, or let me make this even more pleasant to look at. Okay, let me make this username, and for username I'm sending r dot query dot first name. I'll tell you where this is coming from, don't worry. User last name, r.query.last name. These are very dirty implementations. Don't do it in a production grade environment. This is just a visualization that I'm doing to show you guys. Okay. Now if I go here and I refresh this, I go down and I write Akshay and I click on enter. See, what did I get back? I got the username and user last name back. It also must have gotten logged in here. There you go. So the data that we are sending from the front end is actually being captured in the back end. How cool is that? You're more steps closer to being an amazing engineer, an amazing web developer. Congratulations. You're well on your way. Okay. Now let's talk about these. What are these inputs and labels? First, let me get rid of the labels so that I can solely focus on inputs. So I'm pressing Command/ on my Mac. It's the same Control/ on a Windows computer. It comments things out, and I've used that to comment this out. So you can only see the input, and you'll immediately notice what label does. If I go back, you see this. I've not refreshed this yet. Once I do, you'll immediately notice what label does. I will expand on it, but right now, keep in mind, see what just happened. What state what was it in earlier, and now what state is it in, right? So for your clarity, I've uncommented it. I'm going here, refresh this. You see here, this is the state. And let me get rid of the labels. Now, when I go back, you'll notice something has changed. Didn't you? Anyway, so as you can see, input marks just the field where you can put some input. These BR are simply just line breaks so that it can put the next element in the next line. Right? That's all what this BR does. Nothing more. Don't worry about it. Right? So input is just a markup. See, so if you hover over it, like I'm hovering over it, come on, get lost. So if you hover over it, it tells you the definition. The input element represents a typed data field, usually with a control form to allow the user to edit the data. And that's all there is to it. It's essentially just a place for user to enter some data. The data can be name, as you are doing right now. The data can be email, the data can be phone number, the data can be date of birth or some date or any date. The data can be broken down into multiple lines. The data can be broken down into check marks, tick boxes, check boxes, radio buttons. I'll give you a quick rundown of all that data. Okay. So for now, let me comment everything out inside this form, and let me go here and write an input field, and we'll go over all these input fields one by one. Okay. So input field, once you start typing on your input field, you will immediately notice that it gives it certain types of classes types essentially, and that is given by Emmet, which is the auto completion tool for HTML. which comes pre-packaged with VS Code. Right now we were simply using input, which is the default type. Now let's see input type button. We have used this as well. Essentially, input type submit is a special type of button. But if you write input type button and give it a value button, you go here, you see this. You see this? Nice. Any questions, guys? Am I moving too fast? Am I moving too slow? I think I'm moving at a good enough pace. I mean, I could be faster, but I'm just making sure that you understand everything. So I'm just, handling all cases. So input type button. We go to the next line. We write input type button, btn, button. All of them are the same thing. Then we do input type checkbox. See what it does. It'll write a checkbox here. And it's the same line. If I want them to be in different lines, I'll give them a line break, which is simply a BR. Now, these are going to be in different lines. As simple as that. Okay, let's give it a name of checkbox 1. Let's give it an ID of checkbox underscore 1. Okay. And now let's move on to the next one. There are a few input types that I want to quickly cover. I've written about them in my notes, those being yes, the few that I definitely want to cover are text. You have already seen text. Button is important. Checkbox, I'll leave that to you, but anyway, since it's here, let the checkbox be here. The other one that I really want to tell you about is password. So input password. What it does is it's still an input field. It's still an input field, but finally now when you start typing into this input field, let me give this a line break. So when you start typing into the input field, it would obfuscate your whatever text that you've written, as it should for a password. So if I write down SARTHAA here, it won't show you what is written. It will obfuscate it. Right. So that's we could do this with JavaScript as well earlier, but now it's an inbuilt feature for HTML, which is always welcome and accepted. You don't want to write more lines of code for something you can write in one line. That's what input does. Okay. Now the other fields that I want to talk about are email. Let's say if you're building a login system, you'll take the username, you'll take the password, you'll take the email. So input email. If I do this, it's going to do email and ID email underscore 1. There's a reason I'm making the name and ID different. I will just tell you in a while. When I talk about labels, you'll see the difference clear as day. Okay. So again, a BR tag, I keep forgetting them. So email, this is the email field. Let's give it a placeholder. Placeholder is also an overall general attribute that you can put on input. It will have a placeholder value that the user will be able to see until you start putting the real value. So enter valid@email.com. When you go here, it'll just show a grayed out value which says enter valid@email.com. So if I go here and I start typing sarthak@test.com, it's all fine and dandy, right? But see what happens if I mess with this, mess with this structure. If I make it sarthak@test.com and I go somewhere else, it will not submit. Why will it not submit? Because again, email is a special kind of input field which does internal validations to make sure that this is a valid email. Again, we could do this in JavaScript earlier, but isn't this nice? You can have this testing and everything just right there while you're writing it. Okay, let's put a BR tag here. Let's go to the next one, and don't worry, after this we'll take a quick break. So input, we have already talked about submit, and I think these are the main ones. I mean, if you're making a login system, you need the email, you need the username, you need the password. Let's talk about the date as well. Let's say you want to take the date of birth. Input, type, datetime local. So when I do this, it does datetime 1. Okay, so now when I do this and I go back here, you see it's already formatted it for me, so I can just quickly click on this and have this entire datetime caret here, and I can just select one and it will choose it for me. Same with the time. I can select some time and that is what it's going to show me. Okay. Let's get this. Let's capture all of this in a. Let's get the submit field back. Let's capture all of this in the form that we made. Let's go back here. Let's refresh this. Now let's go back. Check the box. What was this? This was password. So my password, email at email.com, some date. Let me put just some random date, some time. Okay, and before I submit, I need to go here and get rid of this. I'll just call it message okay, because now we don't have all of that, right? So let's just do message okay. Okay. Right now when I press the submit button, which I have, it first of all triggers my save password dialog box. It will trigger in your computers as well. There's also one of the reasons we use these semantic elements. I don't want to save it right now. And I've got the AOK message back. Let's see what I've got over the console here. This is everything that I've got here. So the checkbox 1, password, email, and date time. In case you're noticing this, in case you're noticing some pattern, checkbox 1, password, email, and date time with a capital T. Date time with a capital T. Checkbox 1, name. This is the attribute that we use to identify this input at the back end. Do you understand? Cool. So why do we use ID? Moving too fast? Should I move slower? I thought I was moving plenty slow already. I'll just try to be as elaborate as possible. So I hope you understand. So this checkbox 1 is how we can identify this over the backend here. Checkbox 1 with the value of on, because we have checked it, right? If I do this, and now if I uncheck it and I submit it, another thing will be submitted, but this time we don't have checkbox because it is switched off. It's a button. I've switched it off, right? Checkbox 1, 2, 3. Save it. Go here. Go back. Refresh this. This is the checkbox 1, 2, 3. I have checked it. I have got a password you cannot see. Let's enter a email at email.com. Let's enter some date. Click here. Do this. And let's press the submit button. I don't want to save this again. And I go here and you can see everything here. There's the checkbox, password you cannot see, email at email.com, date time, and notice it says checkbox 123 here. The same thing, the same identifier I wrote here. Again, why do we have ID then? ID is a unique. So let me first tell you about this attribute ID. ID is the unique identifier for every element on the web page. So every element, this entire web page, you can put another checkbox 1 as an ID, but that's not good practice. Essentially, it's like, it's you have your Aadhaar card, and you have a driver's license, your passport, essentially something to identify uniquely you. This ID is used to identify uniquely this element in this web page, right? So now let me tell you about labels. This is how we use IDs. Labels. Well, first of all, does anyone want to take a shot at defining labels in the chat? Please take a shot. I'll give you 30 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds. Write about what you think labels are. Go on. Yeah, go on and write about what you think. Has anyone posted anything? Please go on and write. Go on, guys. More action, more activity, energy. I see that you guys are feeling a little down on energy, but pump it up. Come on. Okay, while you guys give me the answer over there, I'll write it over here. Okay. And I hope you'll understand the moment I start writing. So if I do this and I go, for now I'm commenting this button out, doesn't serve any purpose. In my demonstration, I'm writing this here, and it says checkbox for demo, and I'm copy pasting something. I'm doing this very deliberately. I hope you notice a pattern. Copy the checkbox here, put this here. Now, if I go back, see what happens. Go back here, refresh this, go back down. Do you see something? This is appeared here. Checkbox for demo. And again, can help you. This essentially just gives a label to your input field. That's all that it does. But there's one more thing that it does. It activates the input field when you click on it, when you focus on it. So for example, let's say this screen was not as big. This screen was the regular size, which is this. And this screen was even bigger, and somehow I couldn't focus on the exact checkbox. So as long as I'm even on the text for the label, and I click on it, it will toggle the text box. Toggle the checkbox, sorry. It will show this behavior with any kind of input fields. So I can click on the text. See, I'm clicking on the text, but it is toggling the checkbox. Similarly, this is an exercise for you guys. I'm going here. I'm calling this password 1. Password 1. Then I'm going here and I'm calling this email 1. Email 1. Let's copy this again, bring this a line down. Call this date time 1. Date time 1, and let's just quickly change what the label says. Password. Enter email. And date and time of birth. Once I do this, I go here. You have everything appearing as it should. And don't worry, you can absolutely mess up the order. So as long as checkbox for demo, let me bring it here. I've deliberately messed up the order. Checkbox for demo is here, but if you've noticed, even when I click on checkbox for demo here, the checkbox above will still get toggled. You see? So it is used to focus on the input element that we want to talk about or we want to interact with. Let's bring it back. And when we do that, this is where we are, where it should be. Okay. You guys want a break, a quick break? Sound off in the comments, sound off in the chat. Let's begin. Okay. Right, so input fields, good with everyone? Does anyone have any more questions? I'll be happy to take them. If not, let's move forward. I think let's move forward. And labels too, not very difficult. So don't worry about it, and let's move forward. Okay, so there's one more thing that I want to talk to you about. That's the drop down. I saved it for last because it's, I think, one of the most interesting ones that we have. So let's say I want you to select your star sign. Okay, so if I do this and I do this star sign, select your star sign. Now you can only choose one. You can choose a radio box or a more interesting solution that I have, which is the select. Okay, so we do select by simply writing the select, the select tag, and we give it a name of star sign selected and the ID of this star sign, so that we can map this select input field to the label. And we let's put some options here, and they're literally called options. So if I do an option tag, I can give it a value of torus sign, torus, let's call it Gemini, and let's map it to Gemini. What else? Aries. What's your star sign chart? Tell me. I'll add it here. Come on, chat. Tell me what's your star sign. Am I missing something? Aries. I'm missing an S here. Well, let me have a look. So I see Capricorn, Cancer. Let's put them in. Let's put them here. Cancer. Cancer. Capricorn. Capricorn. Okay, guys, I'm just doing the copy paste quickly by something that I told you guys about in the last class. I'm using option on a Mac, option shift, down arrow and up arrow. This will copy stuff, copy the select whatever line that you're on, it will copy it on the line below. And yeah, on Windows, it should be Alt Shift and the up and down key. Okay, when I do this, I go back here, it asks me to select my sign, and as usual, I forgot to give it a line break. Star sign, Taurus already selected, Gemini, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn. Let's select Capricorn. Let's select the rest of the things. So checkbox, password, invalid. Let's put something invalid here, and yeah, let's submit. You see it says please enter an email address, a valid email address. Essentially it wants you to enter a valid email address. Invalid email, it will not send the request. You'll see that I've got nothing back here. I've not got the star sign. This is the previous request. Okay. So again, this is what email does is type. It forces you to enter the correct one, the correct format. All of this could be done earlier as well with the use of a lot of JavaScript, but now you can simply do it with just one line of code, literally just 2 words, type email, and you're golden. I've selected Capricorn. I'll click the submit button here. Let's go back and see what have we got. We have got everything here. From here to here, the star sign selected, Capricorn sign, date time, email, password, and checkbox, which is on. That's what a select does. As simple as that. Moving on. This is fun actually. I'm just giving you descriptions to everything. I'm just not, glossing over it. I'm taking the time out to give you the actual definitions. I'm trying to nope. Yeah, format the document. It is properly formatted now. Okay. And what else are we talking about today? Ooh, fun. So yeah, so that's that for our input fields. Let's talk about this two new semantic elements that I want to tell you about, semantic tags. We're going to talk about many more semantic tags, but 2 for now, which are the figure and fig caption. Figure is actually a wrapper tag around image or diagrams that you want to put on your screen. So we already have an image here, right? Where's that image? Here. You can also actually put the height and the width tag. Let me put this 200 and width 200 so that it's a lot more manageable. Yeah, looking good now. Height and width, I've just I've manually put the height and width. I'm forcing the image to be these dimensions. And so figure goes over this tag, this image tag. So essentially it gives a play area where you can put your images or your diagrams or what have you, right? So let's put figure here. Let's put this here. This is essentially the semantic way of writing this. And fig caption gives it a caption, as the word says. Let me show you a few examples. Where do we have the examples? Come on. Hey, come on, man. What the hell? I'll just write the example myself. I've just put this here, and I'll write this is an image of startup, right? So now when this image renders, you have a caption, literally like a caption you give on your social media of choice. So your Facebooks and your Instagrams and what have you, you can give a caption to your images. This entire block is now under the figure tag here. The image, the fig caption, and the figure tag closes here. And that's all there is to it, right? We're moving more deeper towards the semantic typing, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a lot about semantic typing. Right now I'm telling you all about the semantic tags. In just a short while I'll tell you why we actually use them. I mean, what's the point of using these semantic tags, right? So with this out of the way, let's talk about one more piece, which is again an interesting one. We'll step outside the form tag, and let's say I want to have a drop down of information, right? So details. I'd rather show you by, very much show you by demonstration instead of just telling you what's happening. So detail is a semantic tag that contains details for some piece of information that you want to show, and you can write that information down by just writing, this is the information I wanna show in details. And before I forget, let me wrap this in a p tag. This is the information I want to show. Okay. Now notice what happens when I go back here. You see details, and you don't see it. You do see this is the information that I want to show. When you click on it, it just drops down and shows you the information. This is just a semantic for a drop down in your UI, in your front end, right? Okay, this is bothering me. The label. I have to take this. Oh, come on. Yeah, this is the information I want to show in details. You can also provide a summary. So you write a summary here and you write summarize this detail, and it simply summarizes the detail. So instead of seeing detail now, you see the summary here, right? So maybe I can write down what is quantum gravity, something that I'm very interested in, right? And the details are quantum gravity is the quantum theory of gravity which we haven't yet discovered or reconciled general theory of relativity with quantum field theory. See, so this is just something that I'm interested in, right? So what is quantum gravity? You don't have to worry. This is just a summary of what is quantum gravity. When you click on the caret, it gives it down and just shows you quantum gravity is the quantum theory of gravity, whatever I've written, right? And you can bring it back up. Let's see it in the inspector. Here it is. Summary is here. And if you've clicked on it, it shows whatever you've written here. Okay. And that's all there is to details. Okay, now the fun part. Now let's or I'm sure you guys haven't, I don't know if you guys were born back then or not, but back in my day when I was, I think your age or younger, we had this thing called MySpace, and you could, it was social media for millennials like me. So on MySpace, you could, have people come to your page and have some basic HTML and basic music playing on your page. Back in the day, this music, like I said, with HTML 1, 2, and 3, I think till 3, you couldn't have any audio, video played on your page without having some flash or some hacky way of doing this. HTML5 actually brought with it 2 tags, which makes it very easier for us to now embed audio and video in your page, and that's what we're going to do right now. So in case you've noticed, I've added one more file here. It's called monster.mp4. It's a song by this popular band called Imagine Dragons. It's a song called Monster, right? And now let's say if I want to include just the audio, right? There's a tag available for it. Like everything over HTML, there's always a tag available for everything, whatever you want to have, right? So I can simply write that tag. The tag is called audio, very descriptively, very innovatively. Anywho, so audio, and this audio tag takes a few, it takes a few attributes. It needs to have a few child elements. So first of all, it takes an child element called source. Source simply means where do we have it. Okay, so source with an attribute of src, okay, and a type that is necessary. So source, it's in my root folder, so monster.mp4, it just showed me there, and the type is audio/mp4 because it's an mp4 file. Now if I go back to my page, let me put the page on the left. I keep dragging on the left. Let me put the page here. Now if I go back to my page, you don't see it. Is it even there? Let me refresh. Is it even there? It's there, you just don't see it. See, it's here. It's here, you just don't see it. It's not shown on the page as well. Well, why do you not see it? And what's the point if you don't see it and you can't play it? We have a solution to that as well. We simply write just this one attribute here and call it controls. Yeah, controls. And that's that. Now it will enable controls over this audio tag. I've put controls over the wrong place. If I do this, it will put controls over the audio tag, and we just quickly, can someone quickly read this out for me? What does the audio tag does? What does the audio tag do? An audio element represents a sound or an audio stream. Simple as that. I put controls here. Now you will be able to see it here, and I can play the music from here. So as the great Shamur once said, let the music play. Can you hear it?
Since I could remember,
I don't know if you can hear it. I have a very strong noise suppression thing going on here. A lot of audio and video effects in this stream, but try it on your own browsers.
just wouldn't settle in.
By the way, I really love it.
If I told you what I wanted, would you turn your back on me? And if that seemed dangerous, would you be scared? I get the feeling just because everything I touch isn't dark enough.
I'll start enjoying myself and I'll forget about the class. Let's not do that. I mean, I'm probably still gonna listen to this song to my heart's content. But for now, let's focus back, guys. Let's focus back. I was not showing you my screen all this while. You guys didn't tell me. Come on, what's up with you? Whew. You guys didn't see anything? Any of this? Well, I just put the audio tag here with the source, monster, mp4, and this. I hope you guys followed it up. If you guys have any questions, you guys gonna have to send it on the chat, and it's not too difficult, right? Similar with details. This is how I was doing details, right? The detail opening and closing tag with the summary tag and p. So yeah, you see. Sure. Okay. There's actually a video associated to it. How do we see that video now? It's very similar, essentially very similar to how you have the audio tag. And let's make sure that you guys, I'm just making sure on my stream that you guys can see the screen this time. Let's not make the same mistake twice. So video here, and I've changed it both to video tag. So this is now from an audio to a video tag. Let's the controls stay there, and just like I was doing on the image, let's give it a default width and height. So a height of let's say 600, and a width of 900 should be good. src, now instead of type audio, let's make it video, and that's all there is to it. So if you go back now and press refresh, and let's make this a little smaller so that you guys can see. Let's go down, and this is where the video is. Can you see it? Okay, so listen to this song. It's a nice song. I really enjoy this song. It's called Monster. It's by a band called Imagine Dragons. I can see in the chat some people have already heard this song, but really love this song. Anywho, that's audio and video, because for the people who missed, and that's all of you, I'm sorry. For the people who missed, this is the select tag. You use it to select your star signs. I've just used this as an example, star signs. Then we have the details tag to tag to write the details and summary. It's a semantic tag. Then the audio and video tag. Let me be a good soldier and not just write it down like this. Let me make this back into audio, and let me write a separate tag for video. So now that we go back, we have both of them. This is the audio tag, this is the video tag happening here. Okay, let's give a line break between these two. I see a few people are saying that they heard this song on WWE. I'm sure you did. So line break. This is above, this is below, and that's that. Those are all your major tags covered. And now we come to the tail end of the session today. We're going to talk about a few interesting concepts, and we're going to wrap up a class with it. We have to talk about the semantic HTML. What do we even mean by semantic HTML? And this time I'm gonna have you guys read this. Semantic HTML. I just write semantic HTML MDN, and its definition of web related terms. In programming, semantic refers to the meaning of a piece of code. For example, what effect does running that line of JavaScript, or in this case HTML, have, and what purpose or role does that HTML element have, as I was saying, rather than what does it look like. So what purpose does an HTML tag have? That's a very important thing to know. Who needs to know this? So there are data crawlers by search engines like Google and Bing, and they use these semantic tags in addition to the meta tags that you put in the head to rank your page, to increase the SEO, which is the search engine optimization for your page. That's number one. Number two is accessibility. So for people, as I was telling you yesterday, for people who are a little hard of hearing, for people who have problem hearing, so screen readers use these semantic elements to give contextual information to people who are, let's say, hard of hearing or hard of seeing, right? Yeah. Like this, in HTML, for example, H1 element is a semantic element which gives the text it wraps around the role or meaning to have a top level heading on your page. As I was saying, it tells you why it is there, and it helps you rank on search engines, right? So some semantic elements, a lot of semantic elements we have discussed already. Let's talk about a few more. Let's talk about aside, and then there is one called main. There is one called, we talked about article already, and section already, and nav already, and header and footer already. Aside and main essentially are the two new ones that I want to talk to you about. Again, aside side semantic element and main semantic element. If we go back to our page, we go here, we see this aside in semantic, but the important part is if we look at it inside our inspector, this is how they look. This is main, this is the side. These tell data crawlers for search engines, and they tell them where they are and what purpose do they serve, same as they do for screen readers. And yeah, that's that. And it makes it accessible. These are the notes that I've written. And let me give you a quick introduction to SEO and accessibility while we are at it. This is probably going to be the last topic that we covered today. And yeah, let me give you a quick rundown of search engine optimization and accessibility. So for example, if I write down Disneyland near me, this is, or not Disneyland near me, if I write down, how do I put it, bakery. If I just put a bakery, search engines like DuckDuckGo, which I'm using right now, and Google or Bing or what have you, they use these context clues from websites to, rank these results that you see. So they use them to rank these results. So I have Just Bake near me, I have Biscotti, I have Top Bakeries in Kozhikode. Not in Kozhikode. Cochin Bakery. Why does my VPN? I think it is scrambling my data. Anywho, yeah, I have a VPN which is scrambling my data. You can see where I am. The computer doesn't know where I am. Only that I'm in India, so they can still use my bank accounts and all. Anywho, so yeah, it uses those information to rank these results. We can have, let's say we are making a search engine, not a search engine, let's say we're making a bakery ourselves. We can tell the, search engines what kind of things that we have by putting that data here inside head. So if I put meta and I put a description, this will now tell what kind of things that we have, like this is a bakery. Okay, you can have meta tags for other values as well. So for example, meta redirect viewport with initial. This just defines our viewport. This is just all the information which you won't read, but the browser and the crawlers will read to get contextual clues about what your page is. Title is also part of it, but and it is something that you can see, but it also tells the the browser what kind of things that you have in your page. Let me have some water. Great. So if let's say I was someone who couldn't see properly, unfortunately, if I was someone who couldn't see properly, and I'm really fortunate that I can, the screen readers, let's say if I had a screen reader installed, it would use this content from the description to tell me the website that I'm on, this is a bakery website. This is a website for a bakery. And it will use more contextual clues like this alt to tell me what this picture is, because clearly I will not be able to see the picture clearly. And so on and so forth. It will be able to tell me that there's an article coming ahead and this is the contents of those articles, and it will be able to tell me that this is the footer, essentially indicating that we have reached the end of the website. And on that note, let me put footer right at the bottom. Again, we can put footer anywhere, it doesn't complain, but contextually it tells the browser that this is the end of the page. So let me put it at the end of the page. Similarly, tell that this is the main meat of the, description, meat of the content that you're reading. This is just aside that content, these kind of things it does. And this is the SEO and accessibility section of why we use semantic elements. And what else do we have on our agenda today? I don't think we have anything else left. I think from now on we'll just design a good looking page. Yeah, that's all that I have in my in my agenda for today. And I'd very much like you to tell me your feedback. What do you guys think of today's class? Yeah, let me quickly revise what we did today. We spoke a lot about semantic elements. We got into how to accept data from users by using the input fields and the submit forms and everything. That was the fun part. And then we talked about semantic elements, and that was fun while it lasted. Yeah, so semantics, SEO, and accessibility. That's all that we have for today. Tomorrow, we are going to talk about the layouts and the navigations around this HTML5 page. We're going to talk about the best practices that developers use. We're going to talk about more about this meta tag viewport and all. We're going to talk about the HTML API and features and the best practices, how to organize code, how to put everything. Because right now, you see, I've put everything here and it doesn't look the best. We'll talk about how to organize our code and our files. Like, I've just thrown everything around here. This is what I mean by writing some dirty code. Right now, I've just thrown everything around here. And that's not what people do when they're working on a production grade website. So we are gonna tackle that tomorrow. For now, I think this is it. This is it for now. And what did you think of the class? Please, if you have any questions, send them along, and I will answer them. I or someone from the LetsUpgrade team will definitely answer all of your questions. More importantly, please reach out to LetsUpgrade. They're always here to help you. And with that, I think that's the end of the session today. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Bye.